Why, hello there, lost family. Or maybe you're new here. A wonder, just stumbling onto the Lost Gamer's path. Either way, the journey begins again. Today we are exploring the murky depths of Reddit. So stay close. It's easy to get lost out here. So, I guess let's just jump right into it. Am I the a-hole for making my fiance's daughter's picky eating habits a deal breaker for us marrying? This one is seeming pretty dramatic right off the bat. I will probably get a lot of flack for this, so let me start with the usual comments I anticipate. No, his daughter does not have sensory issues. It says is neurodivergent, but based on the context, I think it's probably meant to say is not neurodivergent, or any other mental disorders that might affect her eating habits. With that said, I am a 28-year-old female. I am a single mother to one kid, 8 female, and have been dating and recently engaged to a man that's 27, male, and he has a child that's also an 8-year-old female. The first half of us dating, he was going through a court battle and only had every other weekend with his daughter. We mostly planned activities as playdates, and his daughter took a quick liking to me and I to her. Our daughters are best friends and very excited to become sisters. That's really sweet. Once he was granted 50-50 custody, we started spending more time together, and I noticed his daughter is an extremely picky eater. As in, favorite foods are chicken tenders, french fries, and pizza. So far that's not sounding terribly abnormal. Obviously, you want to start trying to encourage healthier eating habits in kids, but I don't think it's that unusual for an 8-year-old to only like the super palatable foods. I think that's kind of what that's referred to as. This was immediately sirens for me because I'm a believer in the importance of a healthy and well-balanced diet, especially for children, and had many conversations with him about it. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's probably ways that you can start encouraging your child to eat healthier and more balanced. It just takes some time with kids like that, I believe. I think the main thing is you have to try to make healthy food a little bit more palatable, like adding cheese or butter, more salt. It makes it maybe a little less healthy, but overall it's still probably better than them eating just chicken nuggets, and it makes it taste a lot better. And you can start kind of working that stuff back. You don't have to just make, veggies unhealthy for her to eat them. You can start, like, once she's eating broccoli with cheese and butter on it or something, you can start scaling back how much of that stuff you're putting on. And I think you could probably start getting this kid to eat healthier. I used my own daughter as an example. I'm in the military and was away from her for 2 years between ages 3 to 5. Wow. When I received her back at age 5.5, she had also become very picky, and I made it a priority to fix that bad habit. Well, it sounds like you know how to do that then. It took about 6 months and I had to ease her into it, but now she really eats just about anything and is willing to try anything. That's good, and it just shows that it is possible to do that. I'm originally from a different country, so we visit my country and travel regularly to explore other countries, so that is another reason having a child that is easygoing with food is important to me. Will you actually be able to travel with his child? I don't know. Every custody thing is different, but I know for a lot of people there's kind of specifications on whether you can take them out of the country or not. So I guess that would be good to know if that's even something you need to be worried about. All of that to say that this has been a regular conversation between my fiancé and I have shared the tips that worked for me countless times. Bringing it all back to last night, we went to eat Chinese food and ordered several plates. His daughter tried 2 minuscule bites of new foods, pot stickers, and I don't know how to say that actually, because I don't really eat a lot of Chinese food. I have a very simplistic diet. So I'm not even gonna try, because I'll probably just butcher it. But yeah, it's a chicken thing anyway. She made faces at both and had chicken fried rice for dinner. Well, at least she ate the rice, it sounds like. She ate all her chicken and picked at the grains of rice to avoid eating any carrots or green beans. Dang. Yeah, that's really picky. I don't think it'd be easy to get her to eating healthy food, but it's probably doable. I think the main thing is, I think sometimes, from what I've heard, you might just have to be a little strict with that, old-fashioned, you don't leave the table until you clear your plate. Of course, you can't do that at a restaurant, but I guess you could try that at home, but I don't know, I have heard that that's not very good, like it can kind of cause, bad habits with eating or something, but I don't know. I'm not a parent, so I don't know enough about that. Her dad didn't say much other than suggested she try to eat some vegetables, to which she simply refused, and he didn't push the issue. Well, to be fair, you're right. You're in the middle of a restaurant. I don't really think that's the best time for him to be pushing issues and, potentially getting her to screaming or something and crying and making a scene. I don't know if she's prone to temper tantrums, but, if she is, I definitely wouldn't be trying to push that issue right in the middle of a restaurant. He told her no dessert if she didn't try to eat her vegetables, and when her fortune cookie came, he didn't stop her from eating it or taking her lollipop home. Okay, so he definitely needs to work on following through with what he says, because that's not good. You should make a habit of being consistent with your words and actions. And again, if it was like, a worry about her causing a scene in the restaurant, just don't even say that, just address it when you're home or something. Because yeah, if you're not going to follow through with that, then just don't even say it. Because then you're just setting it up to where she knows that you're not going to mean anything you say. It was frustrating to say the least to watch him not address what she was doing and at least require her to eat some of her vegetables. Yeah, that's not ideal, I agree with that. I do think that's something you can work on. Last night it all got to me, and this morning when we talked about it, I told him that his lack of serious effort in trying to modify and improve his daughter's eating habits are a deal breaker for me, and I would not be willing to combine our households until he made significant progress on it. I mean, that seems a little extreme, but, it's your life to live ultimately. If you feel good about that choice, then that's up to you. He was obviously upset about this and says I'm being unfair and not giving him enough time. But I see almost no effort in his parenting techniques / strategies since the 6 months he's had his daughter half-time. Well, when did you bring this up? Because that's going to be important too. If you brought it up last week and are, now a week later, well, this is a deal breaker if you don't immediately deal with it, then that is ridiculous. But if you brought it up the whole 6 months ago and he hasn't put any effort into it, then I guess, again, it's, your life to live. If you feel good about that decision, then it's not really my business, I guess. I mean, you're putting it out there online, so I'm gonna weigh in on it, but, ultimately, I guess it's not that big of a deal. That would really suck for the kids since they're excited to be sisters, and it does seem like a kind of silly thing to ruin what seems to already be a good family dynamic, but I don't know. I know this might seem like such a trivial thing to break things off for, but I could write almost the exact same post about how his daughter's education. This is her 2nd year in 2nd grade. Okay, she got held back due to not being able to read, and she's still reading on 1st grade level. and his lack of effort in prioritizing and making significant progress in that as well. Okay, I'll give you that. That one I would see is more serious. I could definitely see why you would say I don't want to have kids with you, since you're not really putting any effort into the kid you already have. I could see that being a thing. And, you know, even the breaking it off because of that, that's, again, it's really up to you. Everybody has different standards for that sort of a thing. Once again, I also have experience in this topic. When I received my daughter, she was also significantly behind in learning to read, scoring so low on her state reading tests in kindergarten and first that she qualified for free book programs. Okay. I didn't know that was a thing. I was homeschooled, and, yeah, I'm sure things have changed since I was in school, too. I was a good reader, so I don't know. So do they just assume that if a kid isn't reading that well, that they just don't have access to books? Is that the idea? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. I had to turn that around as well. She now reads 2 grade levels above and is a complete bookworm. That's really good. That's definitely something to be proud of. I was kind of the same way. I was always a pretty good reader, but I didn't really like reading until I was probably 10. And there was like a badge at the library that I really wanted to win. I didn't end up winning it, but it got me into reading. I I started reading a lot to try to read enough to win that badge. And yeah, it got me into reading, and I really enjoyed it after that. But yeah, I couldn't win it because split family situation, so I was traveling back and forth between places a lot, so I just really wasn't spending enough time in that one place to be able to read enough for it, but yeah. I'm genuinely starting to feel that this man is simply expecting to have me take over all of the hard parts of parenting, and he's just waiting it out until then, and it's really starting to frustrate me. That actually makes sense. That's really fair. I mean, it's his child. It's ultimately his responsibility to try to improve her life. Because, I mean, even if you do get married, you're not the parent, and it can kind of feel like overstepping if you're the primary one setting rules and enforcing them, because it's ultimately not your kid. And she's only there part-time. My fiancé keeps saying he'll back me up on anything I want to enforce once we move in together, but I see this turning into a situation where I become the evil stepmother who suddenly changes everything and forces new rules, and his daughter quickly resents me. That's perfectly fair. Yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue, and yeah, I agree. Cause, yeah. Cause, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really appropriate. Like, I'll back you up. Like, you're the parent ultimately. You're the real parent. That should be your job and your priority to make sure your child's doing well. So yeah, the fact that he's just wanting her to do it and then, oh, I'll back you up. That's just not real great. And what does he mean by back her up? Like, does he mean he'll enforce the rules too? Or is he just going to agree with her if his daughter asks him? I mean, or will he just sit there silently and not say anything, so he doesn't appear to be taking any side? I don't know. I don't know what he means by that. Either way, though, it's his job to make sure his daughter is doing well, because it's his kid. And it's really not that fair for the step-parent to feel like they have to do all the parenting of your child, because yeah, it's very easy for a step-parent to end up being villainized because they are the step-parent, and she's only there part-time. I have no issues with his daughter. In fact, children are completely innocent in situations like this. This is a complete incompatibility in parenting beliefs, and it's causing me to have serious doubts and apprehension in combining our families. Yeah, the more she went on about this, more details and everything, I tend to agree with her. I don't really think she's the a-hole in this situation. And I would imagine if he does love her and he wants them to be a family, that he'll actually start putting effort into parenting his own child, which is a net positive. And if he doesn't, I mean, that's sad for his daughter, but that's not really her fault. And I understand her not wanting to be the evil stepmother. So am I the a-hole for delaying or even breaking off our engagement over this? Edit. A lot of people are telling me I'm a wicked stepmother already, but I haven't done or enforced anything on his daughter. I know it is not my place, and I, of course, don't want her to hate me for it when we are still establishing trust. Yeah, it doesn't really sound like she's overstepped boundaries. She's just kind of wanting her boyfriend to set boundaries with the child. Well, it's important if they want to have children together to know what kind of parent he's willing to be. If everything's always going to be on her, I just don't think that's really fair, especially when it comes to his child that is technically not hers. These are solely conversations between him and I, and my inner concerns. His daughter and I adore each other, and her mom is supportive of our growing relationship, even offering fiancé and I to have her for Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. That's really nice. That's ideal. That's kind of rare for, co-parenting to be that smooth and nice. My dad used the I do not have to eat anything as long as I try it once strategy, and it worked. There is nothing I will not try. If I like it, I will add that to a large list. If not, I stay away, but that is a small list. Not the a-hole. Yeah, I think that's fair. With picky eaters, I do think you might have to have them try it a couple times and try to vary the way you're making it each time to see if they'll like it one way but not another. But yeah, I think for instance, I'm not a huge fan of onions, especially if they're cut up large, and I've tried them multiple times. I just don't like them, and I never will. But some people love onions, and that's fine. But yeah, everybody has different tastes, and it's hard to force people to just like things they don't like. You can force people to tolerate things they don't like eating, but you're not going to force them to like it. And I think you don't have to force your kid to eat onions in this example. If they don't have to eat onions, don't make them eat onions if they hate them. As a young adult in my 20s, I made a similar rule for myself. Any new food I had to try it a minimum of 3 times in 3 separate instances from 3 different places before I would ever say I didn't like something. Yeah, I think that's fair. For all you know, the chef is having a bad day, doesn't know how to cook it properly, or just effed it up. Yeah. Or you might just like something prepared in a different way. It's like the broccoli thing, you might not like raw broccoli or just steamed broccoli, but you might love it with butter or cheese, or garlic, something like that. Tastes change too. I like to try foods I don't like every few years to see if I still don't like it. So far, I've come around on pickles and cilantro. Yep, I think that's smart too. I've done that sometimes as well. This person says that different people is a must. I hated lasagna the first couple of times I had it, and would refuse it until I had no choice. Turns out it's my favorite food, and my sister just can't cook. If you read the post, it's not about picky eating, it's about parenting. He's also taken no steps to address his daughter's failure in school. Of the two, that to me is by far the bigger issue. OP is wasting her time, however. Expecting people to change, or trying to change them, is the most basic mistake you could make in a relationship. He's shown OP what he is. She needs to believe it and move on. I don't know. I think sometimes people change. I do think it's rare, but I do think it's possible. But yeah, I would say that's a lot more concern. I mean, Really, the diet thing is concerning too. I think maybe that one isn't, that one's kind of underestimated because it's kind of normalized to not eat healthy if you're an American particularly. So it's easy to not look at that one as serious, but it is actually fairly serious, you know. Having your children set up with bad eating habits can really mess things up for them going forward into their adult life and their whole life. So it is important to instill healthy eating habits. But yeah, the fact that he's not at all worried about her performing badly at school is concerning. And the fact that he's not taking any steps to address this and help her is concerning, because you really shouldn't need someone prompting you to do that, you know. You finding out from the school that she's doing poorly should be enough prompting for you to be like, oh, I have to really help her out. We need to fix this. The education thing, is far bigger issue. Key phrase, he will back you up when you are living together. He is not going to participate/parent until you are involved, and he sees his part as only backing your wishes. Exactly. I caught that too. It doesn't seem ideal. I can definitely see what the original poster was referring to. It doesn't seem like a ideal situation. He will hand over the feeding, homework, etc., but not actually do anything else. Well, anything, period. Because, I mean, you shouldn't be handing off all your parenting responsibilities. He doesn't view himself as a parent, he views himself as a cheerleader to you. He has outright told you this. He has opted out of parenting on these things, which also begs the question of what else does he/will he opt out of when you live together? Household shopping and chores, transporting the kids, etc. It's not your job to change or fix this for him. This is his viewpoint, and he doesn't want to change that. He wants you to accept it and comply. His words and actions are quite selfish and entitled. So what is he actually bringing to the relationship? If you go forward, you will be the parent of 3 children, and he has told you this. Look up the term, I probably can't say that. It's a maid, basically. Starts with a B. Yes, there is a word for this behavior, not the a-hole. Best get out now. Yeah, I think they probably have a good point here. I mean, I would hope he would change, but yeah, he really shouldn't need someone telling him that he needs to actually care about his daughter's education. No one should have to tell him that. Which it kind of concerns me that the mother also isn't seemingly interested in her daughter's education. This person says, exactly what is he bringing to the table? Run, girl. Could be good advice. Probably is. I'd like to know the background of the custody battle, too. It sounds like he wanted his kid, once he knew he'd have a maid, to actually be the parent he's supposed to be. That's actually a good point, too. I mean, I don't know. That could have just lined up kind of more coincidentally. But, yeah, if he only had interest in his kid after they got into a relationship, that definitely could be a red flag. This stood out to me as well. It's learned helplessness when the man is acting like he can't fulfill the same duties as are expected from women. This is actually a gift that OP can realize this behavior before the wedding because she can choose herself in peace. Yep, I do tend to agree with that, because yeah, I just don't think there's any really good excuse for him to not understand that these are basic parenting things that he should be doing before anyone has to tell him to. It continues on to say, my ex-husband did this too. I can't clean the bathroom, you do it so much better, and it takes me so long. I always forget the trash. You're just so much better with staying organized. I cook and you wash the dishes. It's so It's so frustrating. Like, live-in man-child who takes responsibility for nothing. Not the ale. Best get out now, indeed. Yeah, I do think... I mean, sometimes, you know, people are bad at one thing and the other partner is better, but... I don't know, with, like, cleaning a bathroom, that one should just be kind of universal. It's not really that complicated or hard, so... Taking out the trash, I mean, that's kind of a similar thing. You see the trash is full, so you take it out. That doesn't require organization. But there are definitely scenarios where it makes sense to have, like, you do this type of job because you're better at it. Like, I don't know if they're, like, good at fixing things, but the other partner doesn't know how to fix things. You know, something like that. Or, I don't know, maybe the walls need painted and one is really clumsy and is more likely to get paint on things. I don't know. There are probably good scenarios, and then obviously you can split up chores in a good way. That I cook and you wash the dishes seems fair. That one seems fair. But yeah. The other things she listed definitely don't seem reasonable. Okay, let's sort by controversial. I kind of want to see other views on this. Not the a-hole, it's not actually about the food, it's about him seemingly lacking the desire to actually be a parent. The writing is on the wall that parenting will fall completely on you. Yep, I agree. I have a couple people saying she's the a-hole, but they're not really giving reasons for believing that, doesn't seem like. Not the a-hole, I think you're trying to help, but he wants someone else to parent his kid. He wants you to be the bad guy. It does seem that way. Not the a-hole, the issue is not his child's habits, but his failure to parent. You are definitely reading the writing on the wall correctly. You will be the parent, and he will continue to be Disney Dad. That is what he wants and expects. The daughter being permitted to behave in ways your daughter does not also has the potential to cause resentment within your own daughter. I could see that. That's a very good point, actually. You are quite correct that you are both incompatible as a couple long term. Please remember you cannot change someone. He does not see a reason to change. Yeah, that's usually true. Like, I say people can change, but it's because they want to. I don't think people really typically change because other people want them to. So yeah, if he doesn't want to change, and it doesn't seem like he does, it's unlikely that you're gonna really get anywhere. Not the a-hole. I do think he is expecting you to do the hard work and be the parent in charge. He needs to step up along with the girl's mom and help her improve in school, eat a well-balanced diet, etc. This should not be on you. I agree, both of her actual, biological parents should predominantly be doing the work on raising her, because, she's their child. It's obviously good for the step-parent to be involved at some level, they shouldn't just be kind of floating around in the background, just existing in their life and not being at all parental towards the child, but they're ultimately not the main parent. At the same time, you do approach life with a military-esque attitude, and that's fine. It's clear it has worked for you. It may not work for everyone else, though, and could also potentially backfire in the long run. Yeah, it definitely could. I think you have to be a little bit balanced with that, especially where children are involved, because children are not cadets, It can be really hard for children to adjust to that kind of strictness, I guess. Not the a-hole, and this person quotes the bit where she was saying she doesn't want to be the evil stepmother that enforces all these new rules and where the daughter ends up quickly resenting her. He is 1000% waiting on and expecting you to sort out these sticky situations. He's a jellyfish. He tells his daughter no dessert if you don't eat your veggies, then still lets her have sweets. He has zero credibility as an enforcer of rules, and he probably likes it that way. He'd much rather be the fun dad, maybe because he's only with her 50-50, and he thinks he can't afford to tell her no. I think you are wise to consider if this is the life you want and the role you want to be signed up for. Yeah, I think that is important to consider. Because, yeah, it does seem like he's fully expecting her to be the main parent and the main enforcer of boundaries, rules, expectations, all of that. And that doesn't seem very fair to me. And yeah, like with the 50-50 thing, I mean, it sucks, but both parents need to be willing to 100% parent their child, because both parents can be making that excuse of, oh, I only have them half of the time, so I can't tell them no because that makes me sad, it makes them sad, it makes them angry, whatever. But, I mean, if both parents are doing that, then the child just isn't getting parented, and that's just not a good situation. So yeah, I feel like both parents need to be parenting their child 100%, even if they only have them 50% of the time. Not the a-hole, I'm surprised to see so many dissenting opinions here, to be honest. I do think you are at risk of taking on all the emotional, mental labor of parenting, and I don't think it is unreasonable for you to want to see some improvement in your partner's approach to his daughter's eating habits before taking on that role. You two need to be on the same page and have some semblance of similar expectations/approaches if you are going to parent as a team successfully. Agreed. This person is taking things pretty personally. They're calling her a bully, basically, and I don't really see any evidence that she's being a bully about it. I don't know. Not in her personal life. She might be being really cruel and just not saying that. It says, you are the a-hole. Since when do you get to decide what's okay for somebody else? I think if you're trying to parent together, you have to be on the same page. I think that's perfectly fair. Because, yeah, the two girls have different rules applying to them that can be really difficult. It's one thing for her to go home to her mom and have different rules, but in the same home, they should have the same rules, or it can get really messy. It continues, you don't have to like it or accept it, period. It's funny to me that you can say she's not neurodivergent and doesn't have sensory issues. She's 8. She can have all sorts of things that don't present in a standard way or haven't been noticed because she's only 8. Yeah, I can agree with that, and like autism in particular, it sounds like it's really difficult for girls to get diagnosed because it presents differently in boys and girls. So that is a point. So it continues, I was in my 30s when results from an MRI showed I have cerebral palsy, brain damage from birth. I have a genuine IQ and brain damage. I'm guessing that's to say she's smart, but, she also has damage. I would assume so. That made lots of small quirks suddenly make sense to everybody. Stop judging, be kind, nobody likes a bully. I don't think she's being a bully, though. And it doesn't really sound like she's being unkind, either. It's just like, these are massive parenting differences, and it's kind of difficult to have a cohesive, smooth household if you have completely different parenting styles. Okay, let's move on to the next Reddit post. Am I the a-hole for intentionally scaring my neighbor's kids? Oh, I'm already kind of enjoying this. I don't know. Maybe she's terrible, but we'll see. Me, 29 female, my bedroom window faces the front yard. During the day, I have the blinds half open, enough to let in some light and sunshine for my cats. From the street and even the front yard, it's not possible to see clearly into my bedroom. Because of this, I do often walk through my bedroom in my underwear, or just partly dressed to get to the bathroom. I don't risk walking around naked, though. Hopefully I said that weird enough that I didn't get in any trouble with the YouTube gods. Recently, my neighbor's twin kids, both male, and I'm guessing around 7 years old, have started looking in my bedroom window. I don't just mean standing by the window in my yard. I'm talking faces and hands completely pressed up against the window, looking in. I assume this started with them looking at my cats. I would hope so. But now I think they consider it some type of game with me. Yeah, they're probably young enough that it's not, like, you know, malicious in any way. If they see me, they run back home laughing. I have caught them outside on a number of occasions and asked them directly not to do this. But again, they just run away laughing like it's a game. That sounds like kids their age, but, not appropriate. I've also spoken to their parents multiple times, and they refuse to do anything about it. Okay. That seems so irresponsible. I mean, because the older they get that they think that's just okay, the more likely it is they'll get in actual trouble. I mean, peeping Tom, that's a thing. You can get arrested for that. So if they just encourage their kids to feel like this is normal and they're right to peep on their female neighbors in their bedrooms, I think that could get them in a lot of trouble in a few years. The response I got was, they're just kids being kids. Yeah, they are, but it's your responsibility as a parent to teach them right from wrong. And stupid from smart. And if you don't want someone looking in your window, just keep it closed. That's her property. She can keep her blinds open on her own property. That is that is entitled. Just control your kids. Don't have kids if you don't want to control them and are planning on just letting them run around like feral animals. That's also dangerous. Like, if I had kids, I would not be letting them go to random neighbors' houses, period. You're not leaving the yard. If I'm aware of it, like, I'm gonna be trying to watch you to make sure you stay in the yard and are safe. I wouldn't want you going to random neighbors' houses that might be creepy for all I know. I think, it continues, I think that teaching your kids that it's okay to go onto someone's property and peek in their windows is kind of effed up. Yeah. I know they're only young, but I still feel like my privacy is being invaded. It is. And yeah, they are young. It's not their fault, you know, they're kids being kids. But it is their parents' fault. After you brought it to the parents, it's their responsibility to teach their kids, no, you don't peek in people's windows, that's wrong. You can get in serious trouble for that. And I don't want you thinking that's normal. You have to respect other people's property, for one thing, and privacy. This has been going on almost daily for months now, until last week. I walked into my bedroom and heard the kids outside playing, then spotted the terrifying demon-like mask that my boyfriend wore to a Halloween party the night before. So I got an idea. Well, so far I'm supporting you. I stood next to my window wearing the mask for almost 20 minutes. Finally, I heard the footsteps approaching and waited until both kids had their noses pressed right up against the window. At that moment, I jumped out, mask right at their eye level, and let out the deepest and loudest roar I possibly could. In all the years living next to these neighbors, I've never heard them scream as loudly as they did when they saw me. They ran home screaming and crying, and just minutes later their mother was at my door calling me a monster for scaring her children. Oh my gosh. You're allowed to wear and behave in whatever way you want in your own home. You should be teaching your kids that. If you don't want to get scarred for life, don't peek in other people's windows. That's freaking weird. And again, I feel like she's really setting her kids up to be, like, arrested later in life if she encourages them to feel like that's normal. this woman might have just saved her kids from going to jail a few years from now. Because, I mean, as soon as they're teenagers, I just don't think that would be, you know, considered okay. I think they could get in a lot of trouble at that point. And again, that's just so entitled. Your children are not this random woman's responsibility. I mean, she's acting like this woman is, like, meant to be her children's entertainment and nanny or something. It continues, I simply told her that I do what I want in my own house, and if her kids don't want to see that, they should stay away from my window. Yeah. Well, I mean, just think about all the other things they can walk in on. I mean, a lot of people do walk around their house unclothed. They could see that, or, I mean, it's her bedroom, and she's a grown woman. She mentioned a boyfriend. They could walk up and see them doing adult things, and that's just so inappropriate. And again, you just shouldn't be encouraging your kids to think that it's normal for them to be on other people's property without permission. That's just so wild to me. It's been a week now, and I'm glad to say the kids have not even stepped foot on my front lawn. Good. Not sure if it's because they're traumatized or the parents just told them not to do it anymore. Either way, I'm happy. I felt justified at the time, but everyone I've told said that I took it too far for such young children. I don't know. Am I the a-hole? I don't think so. Again, you might have saved these kids from arrests later in life. I don't think you done a single thing wrong. It's sad that it took that, but obviously the parents weren't going to do anything about it. The only other thing you could have done is call the police, and I don't know if there's much that could have been done about that since they are little kids. And that just seems it honestly seems more mean to me than just, you know, scaring them. Okay, let's see some people's opinions on this. I love it. If she keeps complaining, I would let her know that there are consequences for parents and their kids when parents let their kids trespass and be peeping toms, which would get them arrested as teens or adults. That's exactly what I was saying. Because kids will be kids. Yeah. I hate that whole they're just being kids BS, because I, for one, never even thought about spying on my neighbors, and frankly, being told by my neighbor to stop would have freaked me out enough to not ever do it again. And I lived in an apartment building, so it would have been super easy for me to spy on my neighbors. I just never thought to do it because that's effing weird. I'll admit, I probably would have done something like that as a kid. I don't think I ever did, because I wasn't allowed to leave my yard. My mom watched me when I went outside and didn't want me going up to strangers' houses. I did have a decent amount of, you know, stranger danger because my mom was a good mom. But I wouldn't put it past me entirely. I could see a scenario where I wouldn't maybe feel as weird about it. I was a very curious kid, very nosy, so I could see me doing that, but yeah, if I was told not to, I wouldn't have. And again, kids do stuff like that, and they're not, like, being bad. They just don't know better, but that's why you have parents, so they teach you what you should and should not do. This person says, it's okay to say kids are just being kids when they do it the first time, because they don't know any better. Which means, as a parent, you need to take this opportunity to educate them on why they shouldn't peep into other people's windows. Exactly. The point of the phrase is that the kids are still learning, which means you need to teach them, not just ignore the problem because they're kids. Exactly. I mean, it's possible they would never learn any better if you never teach them. Sometimes you learn things as you age, even if you're not told that something is wrong, but in a lot of cases, kids need their parents to actually guide them for them to learn. Crazy concept. Though P says, yeah, if they had been teens, I'd have gone to the police. I just didn't think they'd do anything about it at that young age. Yeah, I don't think they would have either. I don't really know. If you have thoughts on this, like, if you know about that, you might leave it in a comment, because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that would have been, a worthwhile action to take. I just don't know. Not the a-hole. They're lucky they didn't get a call from the police instead of just getting scared by a mask. The mother, though, is the a-hole. She should be teaching her kids better and not to look into random neighbors' bedroom windows. The nerve. Keep your windows closed. I agree. This is her dang house. I would love to curse here, but I can't. This is her dang house. It's her property. She can have her windows open. That is just so crazy. The absolute gall. That would be her excuse if her kids had caught you and your boyfriend together through those windows. You shouldn't be having naughty adult time where kids can see it. Like, no, your kids should just not be looking through neighbors' windows. That applies if they're, like, doing it on a beach, in a public area, or a park. But that does not apply in their own home. And yeah, you can wear anything you want in your own home. Whether it be a terrifying mask, you can behave in very strange ways in your own home, as long as it's legal. This person continues, frankly, you should have done it sooner, and anyone who disagrees clearly has never had their privacy encroached on, children or not. Edit to add, also, I justify my reply as a parent myself, so no, I don't think you took it too far. This person replied under that post, right? I have kids, and if you aren't going to parent your children, you have no right to complain when the world doesn't take the gentle parenting approach. Exactly. Okay, let's sort by controversial and see if there's anything interesting there. This person says, I probably would have just built a fence instead, but this is cheaper though. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. A fence would probably be a good idea. I would want that either way, but yeah. The mask was a lot cheaper. Probably more entertaining too. This person said, I would think you were the a-hole if you hadn't already asked them to stop, and two, had spoken to their parents. What else were you supposed to do? The alternative would be call the police, which probably wouldn't have done ish. And as far as their comment of, they're just kids being kids, I know I certainly was not spying on my neighbors at that age. That's BS. That's a BS excuse for not disciplining your kids, or watching them at any capacity. Like, just not parenting them at all. I don't think you did anything wrong, because you tried to do all the right steps in the first place and didn't get anywhere. So it was only right that you took matters into your own hands. Maybe now they'll listen the F up and control their kids. And maybe those kids have learned a valuable lesson about trespassing on people's properties and spying on them. This person is siding with parents. Just close the curtains or blinds or whatever. Or whatever you have, and stop being such a whiny bee. This is her property. She should be allowed to keep the blinds open if she wants. This person says, as someone who used to be a child, these are the kinds of memories and experiences that add spices to otherwise incredibly boring childhoods. Yeah, I agree. Little things that happened in my childhood like that definitely made it more interesting. Which, I never had anything quite that dramatic happen. Mostly just, scary stories meant to scare me. And they did. But it was kind of entertaining too, so... How can you be the a-hole if what you did was perfection? Those kids needed to learn the hard way, thanks to their parents who don't parent about trespassing and privacy. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Their parents should have stepped in as soon as you spoke to them about it. They were basically teaching their kids that it's okay to peer into neighbors' windows. Exactly. I mean, they were basically teaching their kids that they're entitled to that. That it's like a right of theirs or something to be able to peep on other people in their own homes. Yeah, I think that would have I feel the only place where that to have gone is bad. But maybe this lady scaring them prevented bad things, you know, later in their lives, hopefully. Okay. Well, I think with that, our little adventure comes to an end, for now. But the path never truly does. If you enjoyed getting lost with me, tell me with a like or a comment. It helps me and my little channel far more than you know. And if you wish to keep traveling these hidden trails, subscribe, and I'll see you when the path reveals itself again. Bye for now.